Hey guys, I am going to do a quick video tutorial on how I did my beach shaker mold. This is going to be video 1. There will be a couple other videos after this. So the first part I'm going to do is fill the background with sand and then the water. So I will be using Midnight Blue from Puzzle Tumblers. I will be using Jackson Square Jr. This is from Mr. Nola's, and Champagne from Puzzle Tumblers. Those are the 3 colors I'll be using today, and that is it. I mixed about 50 milliliters of Puzzle 25 epoxy. I like the fast setting epoxy, so it doesn't blend too much. That's just what works for me. So I'm just separating my 3 colors. I'm not going to use as much light blue as I do the dark blue, but I still want to make sure I have enough. So I've got it split 3 times in 3 different ways. Not saying we're going to use all of it, because honestly I don't remember how much I used of when I did the last one, and I should have measured, and if I did, I don't remember. So so I'm just going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and mix my gold, and I'm just going to go ahead and mix it in this big one, because I am, you know what, actually I'm not. I'm going to mix it in this one. I lied. See, we just have to kind of go along as, I think I want more water this time. So, and I'm just slowly mixing, and I'll add a little more. This champagne color is gorgeous. I'm sorry if you can hear the background TV. My husband is watching. I have no idea what he's watching. So what I'll do is I will mix, since I'm working with a 25-minute epoxy, you got to work a little faster than norm, but I have plenty of time, because I do want it to thicken up a little bit before I move on to my next one. So now I'm going to take my Jackson Square Jr. and I'm just going to do a spoonful, just about like that. Okay, and I'm going to scoop it in there just like that. And I'm going to stir that in. And then to know if I have enough, because you don't want it to all sink, when you lift that spoon, if you still see quite a bit of the spoon, then you know you don't have enough glitter, and it will sink. Another reason it sinks is if it's not thick enough. If your epoxy isn't thick enough, that all the glitter that's heavy is going to sink. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more. These are all fine glitters that I'm working with. Okay. Oops. And then we're going to go ahead and do the dark blue. You know what? I'm just going to pour it in like this. I'm sure we'll have extras, but we can always pour a mold or something like that. That's why it's nice to have extra molds around. You can always pour it. Look at that blue. Look how rich that blue is. It's beautiful. You can always pour an earring mold, a keychain mold, or magnet. You can make a magnet out of it. So it's always nice to have those extra molds, because there's one thing I can't stand. It is seeing dried, beautiful glitter epoxy mix in a cup. So that is a mistake. So if you can see right now, after I mix these, all the bubbles are rising right now. And that's a good thing. That's a good sign. So I'm just going to, can you see all those bubbles that just popped? It's crazy. So you can see all the bubbles. So I'm just gonna let them pop for a minute. I don't know. Can you see that working? It's crazy. It's crazy cool. So, yes, I just did spray my mold with alcohol. It's a test, guys. I had heard to spray your mold with alcohol before you pour because it will help with bubbles. So we'll see. We'll see. It's a test, right? So while I'm cleaning up, and the reason I'm cleaning up at the moment is because I do want this to sit a little bit longer. What happens if it's too thin, like this is too thin. What happens is when I go to pour, all my sand is just gonna go down and around, and I don't want that. I want it to be thick enough to where it will stay in the place I pour it. So, and we're actually getting some good bubbles popping, so we're gonna just let that work for a minute, work its magic. And while we do that, let's see. Oh yeah, so we're starting to thicken up a little bit. If you can see, the consistency is really starting to change. I will do another stir of these, just to make sure my glitter is mixed before I pour. Oh yeah, it's getting nice consistency. You don't want it too thick because then that's when you are going to start getting bubbles in your molds when you pour, because it's too thick and it doesn't flow well. But if you just let it sit, I'm going to show you while we let this sit just a few minutes longer. I'm going to show you what I use for the second part. It's a bag of shells, and I just took a couple of these. It's a huge bag. I got them from Mr. Nola's. They're craft shells, and it's taped shut and half empty because I use them all the time. But anyway, it's like usually this bit. It's huge. But what you want to do is just take a couple, wash them and dry them really well, just to get any debris off of them. And then I was given some really cute, there's a couple broken ones, but some really cute teeny tiny starfish, and we'll use those also. And then some clear sheets, acetate paper, anything like that, projector paper, anything like that will work. And we'll use that for a part of it too. So I'm just gonna kind of explain what the next couple parts are while we let this thicken just a little bit more. So after we mold this and demold it, I don't use white in this part of this step. The white will actually come next. That'll be step 2. After we demold it, I will show you and do a video on step 2, but you'll be able to do, that's when you'll be able to get your waves and stuff like that in. So I do not add white to this layer. So like I said, it's a 3-step process, and you just have to, you have to just kind of bear with me, and I will get all 3 steps loaded as quick as I can. Sorry guys, I'm looking for something real quick. I can't find it. So, and if you can see now, we've got a pretty good consistency, and I'm gonna say we're gonna go for it. So, this, see that? It's almost like a thin syrup. It's like a syrup consistency, a little thicker. And that's about what you want. Now we could get creative and we could put blue glow powder in one of them and the whole thing would glow at night. I guess we could do that and make it fun. The blue glow powder though there's several places to order it, I'm sure. I have this from a retired dealer, so, but I'm sure, but look at that. We're just gonna add a little bit too. Light blue. Why not, right? Let's make it fun. Change things up a little bit. You guys wanna see it glow? I like to play and experiment, and some things just don't turn out, and some things do. So let's see her glow. Oh, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this because the light's on. But here, I'm gonna shut the light off. I don't know if you can see that. So now we're gonna have a glowing magnet. So, and as long as you get light near you, wherever you place this, you're good to go. So, okay. So what we're gonna do is I'm just going to respray my mold because my alcohol dried. And I'm going to pour. Aren't these little cups just amazing? I'm pouring in one spot at the moment, guys, and that's it. And I'm just pouring a little bit so it flows down like that. That's what we want. We want that flow. We have to sit here and visualize how far up we want each piece to be, okay? How much sand do you want? How much light water and how much dark water do you want? So these are questions, every single one's gonna be different. These are just questions that you have to ask yourself before you begin. None of them are wrong. And the last one I didn't do very much sand. And I wish I would have because I really liked the sand feature on it. So I am going to try to do a little more sand. So I'm letting this spread out a little bit, if you can see. I'm checking on my other colors. And this one's starting to get warm, so it looks like where this is stopping, we're gonna have about this much sand. So about a third is going to be sand. Let me clean this glow up and put it away. I am very OCD about putting things away as I get them out. And you can just move it down a little bit if you need to. But see, this is really starting to set up now. So I'm just gonna hold this at an angle and I'm just gonna pour a little more. Just like that. It's just gonna go down. This is a little time consuming, but this is the longest part, but you want it to be right for the next two parts. So why we're focusing on the ring at the moment. So out here is what we're focusing on, where we want each color, okay? So I've got my beach sand about where I want it. So now I'm just gonna take my light blue And I'm just going to pour just a little bit right there. And a little bit right here. Now this is our glow. Okay, so now this is where it's going to blend a little bit, but not too much. And then this is where our dark will come in. And we're just gonna pour. Okay, now we're gonna let that sit for just a second. And then we're going to just wait for bubbles to rise. The reason I don't pour it all at once is because the thicker your epoxy, the more epoxy you have, the harder it is for the bubbles to rise up. So therefore, I like to do small layer first and get it where I like it. And then that's when we'll focus on the bubbles for a second. We'll make sure there's no bubbles coming up. Give it a couple smacks. And I think that looks good. So next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna pour just a little bit in the same spot. Go around. Now remember, it's gonna start getting thicker. Pick where you want. Remember, sand's not even. So just kind of pour where you want it. Then grab your blue. Get your blue over. And your dark blue. I'm left-handed and I have to use my left hand to pour. So it makes it really hard. I have to turn everything. Okay. So, and then I'm just going to take, I really like that transition. Just kind of playing with it a little bit and moving it around to get my transitions I like. I'm just kind of slowly, lightly blending right in the middle. And you want to make sure your epoxy is to the very back. What I will do now is, see, I have so much epoxy left over, so you definitely don't need that much, guys, ever. I probably used half, so you probably need 25 milliliters maybe. Anyway, so what I'll do is when this is almost set up to where I can push in on it, but it's not sticky, I'm going to inset magnets on each side. So I do one corner, one corner, one corner, and one corner. So a magnet on each of those corners is what I will do. If I wanted to make it a magnet, I think I'm going to actually make this a keychain, and we're going to pour pour a mold real quick, guys. Sorry, I have so much leftover epoxy. Here, we can do another one. I got this little half circle one, so let's let that one go, and we'll do it this one. This one's going to be a little bit different because this is really thick now. So I'm just going to, if you can tell, it's really not moving that much. So I'm just going to pour. My poor dog is so scared. They're letting off fireworks. And he is scared to death of them. As you can tell, if you can hear him whining at the moment, I'm sorry. So I'm just This one I am doing a little bit different because the epoxy has thickened up quite a bit to where it's not really moving too much. So that is why you see me doing this one a little bit different. If the epoxy was still thin, I would have done my, the way I did it on that one and did the ring part first. But as you can tell, this is getting really thick, so I'm going to drop it down in there, watch it flow. Hold on, Wrigley. He is mad at me. Okay, so that's the same thing. And I'm going to just kind of move this stuff. This one might have a little more blue. I didn't have enough light blue, but that's okay. And I will spray these with alcohol to let any bubbles rise up. Just a little mist, and it'll bring any bubbles up to the top. But we will let these set. Look how pretty those are. They're so pretty, guys. So we'll let these set up, and then I don't know if tomorrow I will do it, the second part or not, but I will get to the second part here soon and get it uploaded. So I hope this helped anybody that's looking to do the beach shakers. So thanks, guys. Have a good night.